Hello, it's Mind Body Food Coach Vicky Thondley. Thank you so much for joining me today on the Mind Body Food Couch. Mind Body Food TV episode today is about digestion. Now, digestion for me is something that has been a love-hate relationship for quite a while. I've come to an acceptance with my stomach fairly recently, actually, because it's an ongoing process of understanding how my stomach works when I take in certain foods. Now, this is really essential, particularly for people who are recovering from eating disorders, who have recovered from eating disorders and are dealing with those ramifications left over from your eating disorder. Let's face it, when we have addictions to food, when we have habitual behaviors of ways of eating, foods that we used to like to eat or that we thought we wanted to eat, it does leave some kind of damage within the body. And for me, apart from hair loss and apart from, low tooth enamel on my teeth, I've done quite a bit of damage to my stomach and particularly my pyloric sphincter. Now, there's probably quite a few of you out there who have suffered from eating disorders, particularly bulimia, who may have some trouble with your pyloric sphincter. And stress is certainly not going to help your pyloric sphincter from relaxing and enabling it to do its job, which is to instinctively move food from your stomach to your duodenum to pass it through as the duodenum can take it, relaxing and releasing the food from the stomach as it's beginning full so that the digestion process can continue nice and fluidly. Now, the problem for me that I've had actually recently flare up from not managing my own stress as much as I really needed to, yet continuing to tell all of my students and my clients how they really needed to look after themselves and love themselves more by practicing daily self-care. I wasn't following my own advice for a little time there. And I started to realize that my body was absorbing my frustration at being so overwhelmed with all the things I had to do, that my stomach and my digestion and my pyloric sphincter were getting incredibly tight and constrictive. And this was flaring up an old enemy of mine from my eating disorder days, which was bloating, burping, and belching. Now, these are pretty disgusting habits when you see the boys do it, but when you see a woman do it, it's very embarrassing and it's very, very uncomfortable. And if I wasn't a strong person these days who understands her own body and has come to an acceptance of, okay, well, these are the things that are happening, I understand why, now I just got to get busy trying to fix it, then I would probably be on the floor in tears most of the time when this was at its worst. And believe me, in the last couple of weeks, this was at its worst. My stomach was terribly bloated and it was incredibly uncomfortable. Anytime I ate food just meant more frequent belching and burping, more tummy pain, more pain as it moved through my lower bowels, and I just hated eating. This is not a good scenario to be in at the best of times, but if you're someone who's recovering from an eating disorder, or if you're someone who has recovered from an eating disorder like myself, you can still have those frustrating moments where, Jesus, this is why I have these problems, because I had my eating disorder. Now, I love and accept myself, and I even love and accept the fact that my body has to go through this process of teaching me still how I need to care for it. And this is one of the beautiful things about having mind-body awareness, because when you are more tuned into your body, you're actually listening to what your body is trying to feed back to you. Because remember, your body is always listening to what you are thinking and what you are saying. And it's absorbing all of this. So whether you're thinking or saying negative things or positive things, your body is feeling it. And your body is trying to feed it back to you and say, hey, I'm feeling really good. I got lots of energy. I slept really well and everything's moving through me really good at the moment. Or if things aren't going so well and you're not listening to your body and you've been really focused on negative stuff, then your body is more likely trying to feed back to you that it's unhappy. Things are not moving well. We are not sleeping well. Energy is zapping from us. We can't concentrate. We're just feeling fatigue and we're really not feeling too good with any food coming and entering into our body and moving through it. And this is what I've been struggling with the last couple of weeks. I had a major turnaround about a week ago when I actually spent some time in meditation and started listening to what my body was saying. And I realized that all of the frustration I had been feeling at trying to implement a few new changes within my life and my business was making me feel like I had no time to myself. And I wasn't experiencing as much life balance as I need to feel like I'm productive and getting somewhere in my life, as well as I have that time to stop and rest and relax and look at my accomplishments and enable myself to regather my thoughts and regain my strength through rest and relaxation. So I wasn't doing any of those fun things that I love to do. I love to run. I love to go and exercise. I love to get into our home garage and I love to beat the crap out of our punching bag. I love to go out to the garden and just spend some time out in the sun and soak up some vitamin D, pull some weeds, plant some herbs, pick some herbs, and then use them in my cooking to make some beautiful dishes in the kitchen. Now, because I hadn't allowed myself to experiencing these wonderful avenues of rest and relaxation and forms of creativity for me, I was starting to feel the absorption of tension and dis-ease within my body. And that's when I started to realize in my meditation about a week ago that I really wasn't allowing myself this life balance, and my body was trying to speak to me and tell me just how upset it was because I wasn't giving myself enough self-care. So because of that, I realized that my stomach, my pyloric sphincter, my duodenum was unhappy with me. And that's why I had this terrible belching and bloating and burping, because I wasn't nourishing myself properly. Now, one of the things that I've had to learn about from my eating disorder days and in my recovery was that my stomach and the food that I put in it these days is very different in how my body processes it. So there were certain foods that were causing my body to become inflamed, and I had to learn what they were so that I could eliminate them from my diet. I also had to learn the hard way that my stomach, through having a gallbladder removal surgery, because I had so many gallstones in my little gallbladder sac that it had to go, that my body is now in a state where I have a low acid stomach. So low acid stomach, not the end of the world. I simply need to be careful what I eat. And when I have certain foods that need a little bit of help in the digestion process, I need to have some digestive enzymes. Now, there's also certain foods that are a little higher acids, things like apple cider vinegar, which is wonderful for me to put onto my food as a dressing or include in some of my food choices so that I can naturally build up the acid in my stomach as I'm eating the food and helping to digest it. So very different to the average, say, American diet, and also Australian diet these days, where we're taking in way too much processed food and it's actually causing us to have a high acid stomach, and more people need to actually adopt an alkaline diet to be able to reduce the inflammation and the problems that are associated with having too much processed junk toxic food. So I'm fortunate in that I have the opposite problem, but I also have to deal with the bloating and the burping and the difficulty in digestion. Now, many of you may have heard before that a lot of top nutritionists, a lot of raw food enthusiasts, they like to state that the gut is the center of true health and well-being when it comes to nourishment. And this is true. You could be eating the most nutritious, highly nutritious, chemically free, colorful, healthful, natural, whole foods into your body every day. But if your gut isn't working adequately, if your gut is struggling to digest the food properly, then no matter what wonderful food you're putting into your body is going to struggle to get that nutrients, those vitamins and minerals out of it to put it into your body, because it's not able to digest and break down the food properly. This was something that I had to learn the hard way in my recovery, particularly having a low acid stomach in my particular circumstance. I had to realize that by not only changing certain foods to foods that weren't causing my body to become inflamed and react, I also had to choose foods that were going to help my low acid stomach and not help water it down and get rid of the acid that I actually did have there to help me digest my food. So I had to make simple changes like not having so much water-based smoothies. Even though I love them, I love smoothies, I love how my body feels on them, I have to be very careful not to have too much water in with those smoothies. I have to make sure that I put enough stuff in there to help me digest it. Otherwise, I'm just going to start bloating even more and not being able to digest what I've had, even though it's a highly nutritious meal. So these are things that I've had to remember to put into place in the last couple of weeks, particularly in the last week, to make some healthier changes in my life, to get my body back to where it needs to be to fully digest the food properly. So part of this process has been learning more and more about healthy, nutritious foods and how I can incorporate them into my body, and looking after my gut. So I now have my digestive enzymes when I need them. I now have some other kinds of superfoods that I can include into my daily diet to make sure that I'm looking after my acid level in my stomach, and I'm also intaking foods that do not cause inflammation and a reaction from my body that is not a positive thing. So learning to do these things are adequate, really essential things that you need to do to have adequate nutrition and to make sure that your body's actually absorbing that good nutrition for yourself. So if you've liked today's video, please share it. Please subscribe to the channel. Follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, visit us at the website. Please email me all your comments below. This is something I've had to learn so much about for myself, and I'm sure that there's so many of you out there who struggle with digestion issues and problems after eating disorders and food addictions. So please share your experiences or anything that's worked for you, and I'll see you down below in the comments. Thanks so much. Take care. Namaste.